What up guys, it's Good Old Mal, and YouTube has made it very difficult for me to enjoy movies. Because of this series, I have become completely hardwired to try to analyze the plot of a movie and figure it out as early as possible. And since most movies use variations of the same plot twist, I usually end up unintentionally spoiling these spoon-fed plots for myself. It's fantastic, it's great. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I'm just saying that the smallest amount of logic will usually lead us to answers about the stories that we're watching. Movies like to treat us like we're stupid. This is on top of the fact that the plague has completely ruined the movie release timeline for the next 3-ish years. So, all of this to say, I was not expecting to find a movie that completely threw me for a loop, is wildly unpredictable, and left me with lasting questions long after I'd watched it. This is your too long didn't watch for a movie that doesn't treat you like you ride the short bus, TENET. Now, if you're out of the loop, I wouldn't blame you. This movie didn't get a whole lot of coverage. TENET at its heart is a spy movie, and Christopher Nolan did an amazing job capturing that gritty action-packed soul you would find in a Bond film. But he made it a point not to re-watch any Bond films, so he was basically building the movie off of nostalgia. So, if you know me, you know I hate time travel and storylines. So frequently, these days it's used as a deus ex machina to get a writer out of a situation that he's written himself into easily, and I hate it. Hate it! But, on the other hand, when a plot uses time travel creatively, nut! I am such a sucker for a good time paradox. And when you combine good time travel, the typical Christopher Nolan action set pieces, and an amazing storyline, you get a pretty good movie. Now, writers and directors go a long way to making a movie good. But so do the people on screen. That's to say, the actors in this movie are really pulling their own weight. John David Washington, as the protagonist, is amazing. He's got that suave, quick-witted James Bond vibe down pat. I loved his smart-talking quips and problem-solving. But if I'm being honest, my favorite part of the movie was Robert Pattinson as Neil. Neil is the protagonist's partner in crime and good friend. Robert Pattinson has been putting out banger after banger this year, and this movie is no exception. In this movie, Robert Pattinson feels like the perfect counterpart to Washington's protagonist. And the two's on-screen chemistry goes a long way to making them feel like real best friends. And of course, what's a spy movie without a power-mad villain? Kenneth Branagh is the typical I want to see the world burn type. But he manages to bring a new flair and authenticity to the role. His sociopathic god complex is really believable. And it isn't thrown in your face right away. It's more of a slow burn, and the character is all the better for it. Now, I've got to talk about the story. I'm going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, but no promises. And I will not blame you if you stop watching now and go watch the movie, because this film is worth seeing clean. Here is a very watered down version of the plot. A secret society named TENET is trying to stop an evil arms dealer from using time travel to destroy the world. But what makes this delicious stew of a movie amazing is the meat and potatoes. See, our heroes are fighting fire with fire, i.e. using time travel to stop the villain. Which brings us to the movie's hard magic system. Now, I'm going to do my best to explain this magic system, how time travel works in this world. But at times it is very complicated, and there are points in the movie where I don't even have a firm grasp on it. But first, let me break down hard magic systems and soft magic systems. A soft magic system is intentionally vague, usually in service of the plot. But just because it has less rules doesn't make it worse than a hard magic system. Think Lord of the Rings. We don't firmly understand how magic works, but it doesn't hurt the story at all. A hard magic system has very rigid rules that are usually explained very early on in the story. A hard magic system is cool because it can be used to foreshadow things in the future. Think Full Metal Alchemist, where they very clearly explain the tenets of alchemy which then build into more powerful, complex forms of alchemy later on. TENET's time travel is a hard magic system. So here's your crash course in TENET Time Travel 101. At some point in time, people began finding objects whose personal time had been reversed. This is shown early on in the movie by the protagonist being able to drop a bullet in reverse, causing it to float up into his hand. Or fire a gun in reverse, which causes the bullet to fly out of the object that it hit back into the gun at the same speed at which it was fired. Still with me? The way these objects work is through intent. Yes, the bullet had already been fired from the gun, but the way that it works is the shooter still has to shoot. The bullet had already been dropped, but the protagonist still had to show intent to drop the bullet in order for it to float back up to his hand. So basically, regardless of what direction the bullet is traveling in, the person controlling it still has to want it to go in that direction. Does that make sense? So now, the movie kicks the time travel up a notch with the introduction of machines that can switch a person's personal time. It's basically like hitting rewind on the entire world except for one person. All of this escalates into full-scale military battles being fought in reverse. And it is genuinely some of the most original filmmaking I've seen in years. Even more amazing or crazy than that is that in some of the smaller scenes, Christopher Nolan insisted that his actors learn to speak in reverse instead of shooting footage and then reversing it in post. Yeah. There's a specific scene in the middle of the movie where the villain has a full conversation speaking in reverse, and none of it is camera tricks. There's one particular scene towards the middle of the movie that I still do not understand. Like, my brain ain't big enough to get it. There's just too many layers of reversal to comprehend, and I still haven't been able to pick it apart. Now, it's not always perfect, and I think at times the movie even outsmarts itself, and I think in a couple of scenes it breaks its own logic, but that's the best part. Even without a firm understanding of how the time travel is functioning, the movie gets its point and themes across perfectly. It's almost like Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing. Now, Nolan is notorious for putting heavy, deep philosophical and societal themes into his movie. The Dark Knight franchise is enough to prove that. But in this movie especially, he manages to mirror his themes of intent and predestination in his set pieces and his time travel mechanics. It's fucking fantastic. Now, I won't go any deeper than this because I cannot in good conscience spoil the bigger plot twists of this movie. It's that good. And whether you are waiting for your local movie theater to open back up to go see it, or you're just gonna wait it out until it comes to your favorite streaming service, please, please watch Tenet. Just prepare for the headache. But that's all I've got for you guys. If you liked the video, let me know by pressing all those buttons down there. Join the lunch table. We've talked a lot about time today, but just remember to take yours. You're exactly where you're meant to be right now. And I believe in you. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.